The wind roared across the icy peaks of Argos, carrying a sharp cold that cut to the bone. Lyra pressed herself against the rocky cliff, her blue skin standing out against the endless white. She pulled her thin cloak tighter, but it barely helped against the freezing air. Tears welled in her eyes as she watched the last Argon ships vanish into the stormy sky. They had abandoned her, deciding she was too weak for the journey to their new world. At only 16 cycles old, she was now completely alone on this unforgiving planet. As night fell and the temperature dropped further, Lyra knew she had to find shelter or she wouldn't survive. Her legs shook from exhaustion as she struggled through the deep snow. The wind whipped her long white hair into her face, blinding her. Just as she thought she could go no farther, she noticed a dark opening in the mountain ahead, a cave. With the last of her strength, she pulled herself inside and collapsed on the rocky ground. Her final thought before losing consciousness was that at least she would die under a roof. Hours later, Lyra woke with a start to a deafening roar. The ground shook violently and a blinding light filled the cave. Panicked, she crawled deeper into the shadows. The light soon faded, replaced by thick smoke and the sharp smell of burning fuel. Strange voices echoed outside, speaking a language she couldn't understand. Curiosity overcame fear, and she crept toward the entrance. What she saw left her stunned. A massive metal ship lay wrecked on the mountainside, its broken pieces scattered across the snow. Emerging from the debris were beings unlike any she had ever seen. They walked upright like Argons, but their skin was shades of brown and pink instead of blue. Their rounded ears and varied eye colors looked unfamiliar. Humans. Lyra had heard stories about them, but she never thought she'd see one, let alone an entire group. Right outside her cave, she watched as they stumbled through the snow, clearly disoriented. One of them, a tall man with short dark hair, seemed to lead the others. He gave sharp orders, pointing and directing as they salvaged supplies from the wreck. Lyra knew she should stay hidden. These strangers could be dangerous. But as she observed their struggle in Argos's brutal cold, pity stirred within her. Without help, they would not last the night. Taking a steadying breath, Lyra stepped out of the cave. All movement stopped as the humans turned to stare. She raised her hands in what she hoped was a peaceful gesture. "Hello," she said softly in her own language. "Do you need help?" The dark-haired leader strode toward her, his hand resting near the weapon on his hip. His piercing gray eyes studied her closely. "Who are you?" he demanded. "What are you doing here?" Lyra swallowed hard. "My name is Lyra. I'm an Argon. This is my home." Or it was. "My people left me when they evacuated." Her voice trembled as she spoke. The man's expression shifted slightly, becoming less harsh. "I'm Captain Alex Raymond of the Earthship Horizon. We crash-landed after being attacked by pirates. Can you tell us where we are?" Lyra nodded. "This is Argos, an ice planet in the Andromeda Galaxy. The nights here are extremely dangerous. You must find shelter soon." Raymond glanced back at his damaged ship and the shivering crew. "Our vessel is too broken to protect us. Do you know anywhere we can stay?" "The cave I was in is large enough," Lyra offered. "I can also show you how to insulate it against the cold." The captain studied her for a long moment, clearly debating whether to trust her. At last he gave a firm nod. "All right, show us this cave of yours. But I'll be careful. Any sign of betrayal, and you'll regret it." Lyra guided the humans to her cave, trying hard not to reveal her fear. She knew helping them was risky, but she couldn't leave them to freeze. Inside the dark cavern, Lyra showed them how the glowing fungi on the walls could be used as light. "We need to block the entrance to keep out the wind," she explained. "Large leaves from glacier plants work as insulation. I can show you where to find them." Over the next few hours, Lyra worked alongside the humans to make the cave livable. She admired their teamwork and creativity. By nightfall, They had built a warm shelter with separate sleeping spaces and a central area for gathering. As they sat around the heating unit salvaged from the wreck, Captain Raymond turned to Liara. "Thank you for your help. Without it, we likely wouldn't have survived. Can you tell us about this planet and why your people abandoned you here?" Liara's shoulders dropped. "Argos was our home for thousands of years. But the climate has been changing fast, storms worsening, temperatures falling to lethal levels. Our scientists warned the planet would be uninhabitable soon. So the decision was made to evacuate. But they left you behind?" Raymond asked quietly. Liara blinked back tears. "I was born weaker. A genetic anomaly. They thought I wouldn't survive the journey or be useful in building a new colony. So they left me here to die," the humans murmured in sympathy. A young red-haired woman reached out, squeezing Liara's hand. "That's awful. I'm so sorry." Raymond's jaw tightened. "You're welcome to stay with us. We could use your knowledge of this world." He looked around at his crew. "Everyone rest. We'll reassess in the morning and plan our next move." As the humans settled in, Liara curled up in a corner. Her thoughts raced. In a single day, her life had shifted from loneliness and despair to being surrounded by strangers who treated her with acceptance. For the first time since being abandoned, she felt a spark of hope. In the following days, the group established a routine. They salvaged parts from the wreck and built a more permanent camp. Liara became essential, teaching them which plants were edible and warning them about predators. She grew close to several crew members, especially Dr. Alara Chun, the ship's physician. The kind doctor introduced her to human culture and customs. "You've really never left this planet?" Alara asked one day as they searched for fungi. Liara shook her head. "No, I've seen pictures of other worlds, but I've never left Argos. What is Earth like?" Ilura's eyes softened. "It's beautiful. Vast oceans, lush forests, towering mountains, sprawling cities. The diversity of life is incredible," she sighed. "I hope we see it again someday. Do you think you can repair your ship?" Liara asked. Ilara's expression darkened. "Honestly, I don't know. The damage is severe, and we're low on supplies. Unless we can contact Earth for rescue." She trailed off. Liara felt a pang of worry. She had grown attached to these humans and didn't want them to face the same fate she once had. That evening, during their shared meal, Captain Raymond made an announcement. "I've finished assessing the communications array. With our parts, it's impossible to repair it enough to reach Earth." Dismay rippled through the group. Liara's chest ached seeing their despair. But Raymond continued, "If we can boost the signal, we might reach the nearest outpost." "They could send help. How?" asked Cooper, the engineer. "We don't have gear for that kind of boost." Liara hesitated, then spoke. "I might know something. There's an old argon relay station in the northern mountains. If it still works, it could boost your signal." Raymond leaned forward. "How far?" "About 3 days on foot," Liara replied. "But the terrain is dangerous, and the weather unpredictable." The captain thought for a long moment before nodding. "It's our best chance. We'll send a small team. Liara, we'll need you as our guide." "I'll go," Cooper volunteered. "Me too," said Alara. "You'll need medical support." "Good," Raymond agreed. "The 4 of us leave at first light. The rest stay here and keep working on repairs. If we're not back in 10 days, assume the worst and follow emergency protocols." As the camp prepared, Liara felt both fear and determination. She had never gone this far from her cave, but she was resolved to help the humans who had shown her kindness. The next morning was clear, but bitterly cold. The small group set out, Liara leading the way, her sharp eyes finding the safest paths through the rugged landscape. By nightfall, they had covered nearly a third of the distance. That evening, huddled around a heat generator, Cooper turned to Liara. "So, what happened with your people? Why did they abandon their homeworld?" Liara sighed, poking at their meager rations. It's complicated. Argos wasn't always like this. When I was young, there were vast forests and open plains. Millions of Argons lived in thriving cities. But then the climate began to. At first, the changes were subtle, slightly colder winters and harsher storms. But within a few years, the shift accelerated. Most of the planet became buried under ice and snow. Food supplies dwindled as crops failed. The elders claimed it was only a natural cycle and that balance would return. It never did. She paused, lost in memory. Ilara reached out, giving her hand a reassuring squeeze. As conditions worsened, our society began to fall apart, Lyra continued. There were riots and wars over shrinking resources. Eventually, the decision was made to evacuate. But there weren't enough ships for everyone. Only the strongest and most genetically suitable were chosen. That's terrible, Ilara said quietly. To abandon your own people like that. Lyra gave a small shrug. They believed it was the only way to preserve our species. The survival of the many over the few still doesn't make it right, Cooper muttered. Perhaps not, Captain Raymond replied. But we can't judge an entire civilization on fragments of their history. Right now, our priority is survival. He turned to Lyra with a steady look. Are you certain you can locate this relay station? Lyra nodded firmly. Yes, I studied the old maps carefully. As long as the landmarks are still intact, I can find it. Good, Raymond said. Get some rest. We've got a long day ahead. That night, as Lyra drifted into sleep, she felt a sense of optimism she hadn't known in years. The humans had given her renewed purpose. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was determined to help them succeed. The next 2 days of travel were grueling. They battled strong winds and dangerous ice as they climbed higher into the mountains. Lyra was impressed by the humans' resilience. Despite the brutal conditions, they pressed forward without complaint. On the afternoon of the third day, as they crested a ridge, Lyra let out a cry of excitement. There, do you see it? In the valley below, barely visible through the storm, stood a massive dish-shaped structure. The relay station. Well, I'll be damned, Cooper whistled. The kid actually found it. They descended carefully down the steep slope, reaching the base of the station as night settled in. Up close, the structure was even more imposing, over 100 meters tall, with a network of antennae branching out across its surface. Looks like it still has power, Raymond observed, pointing at the faint blue glow inside. Let's hope the systems are functional. Cooper, see if you can get us in. The rest of us will set up camp. It took Cooper nearly an hour to bypass the ancient security system. At last, the heavy doors opened with a groan of strained metal. Inside, the vast chamber lit up as banks of alien consoles flickered to life, casting a pale blue light across the walls. Incredible, Ilara whispered, running her hand over a panel etched with unfamiliar symbols. Can you read any of this? Raymond asked. Ilara hesitated. Some parts match records in our archives, but much of it is far beyond what I know. Meanwhile, Cooper was already working at an open access panel. The core systems seem intact. With some effort, I think I can connect our comms gear to the main array. It'll take time though. Do what you can, Raymond ordered. Lyra, assist Cooper however you can. Ilara and I will secure the area and set up a temporary base. We'll work in shifts to keep this moving. Over the next several days, the team worked tirelessly to restore the ancient relay station. Cooper proved invaluable, somehow merging their Earth technology with the alien systems. Liara's knowledge of the Argon language was equally critical in decoding the station's programming. On the 5th day, Cooper finally shouted with excitement, I think we've got it. The signal's ready, we just need to input the coordinates for the nearest outpost. Raymond quickly entered the data. With a deep hum, the massive dish above them shifted into position. Transmitting now. Cooper announced Dot for several tense minutes. They waited. Then, a light on the console began to flash. "We're receiving a response," Cooper exclaimed. Raymond leaned closer, listening carefully to the crackling message. When he straightened up, he was smiling broadly. "They've acknowledged our distress call. A rescue ship is on its way. It should arrive within 2 weeks." The group erupted in cheers. Their hard work had paid off soon. They would be heading home. But while the humans celebrated, Liara's emotions were conflicted. She was happy her friends would be saved, yet uncertain of her own fate. Would they take her with them, or would she be left behind again? Her expression must have given her away, because Alara walked over and placed an arm around her shoulders. "What's wrong? Aren't you excited?" Liara forced a smile. "Of course. I'm so glad for all of you. I just don't know what will happen to me now." Understanding lit up Alara's eyes. "Oh, Liara, you don't think we'd abandon you, do you? You're coming with us, really?" Liara stammered. "Without question," Captain Raymond added as he joined them. "You've earned a place among our crew. If you'd like to come to Earth, we'd be honored." Overcome with emotion, Liara burst into tears. The humans surrounded her, offering comfort and reassurance. For the first time in her life, Liara felt truly accepted. She had found a new family. The following 2 weeks passed quickly as they salvaged what they could from the relay station and prepared for the journey ahead. Liara eagerly absorbed everything the humans shared about Earth and their culture. When the rescue ship finally arrived, she felt both excited and nervous. Boarding, it meant leaving the surface of Argos for the first time. As the ship lifted off, she pressed her face to the window, watching her homeworld shrink below. The rescue vessel, named the Artemis, was far larger and more advanced than the crashed Horizon. Liara wandered its corridors with wide-eyed wonder, fascinated by the technology around her. The crew regarded her with curiosity, many having never seen an Argon before. Captain Raymond shielded her from the barrage of questions. "She's under my protection," he told the Artemis's captain firmly. "I expect her to be treated with the same respect as any member of my crew." During the long trip to Earth, Liara spent increasing amounts of time with Cooper. His relaxed attitude and quick humor made her feel at ease, and she enjoyed learning about the ship's systems from him. "So this plasma converter," Liara said, pointing at a glowing blue tube, "it powers the entire ship?" "That's right," Cooper replied with a grin. "It converts hydrogen into usable energy, much more efficient than the old fusion drives." Liara frowned thoughtfully. "But where does the hydrogen come from? Surely you don't carry enough fuel for such a long journey." "That's the beauty of it," Cooper said, as he began explaining how the ship's magnetic scoops collected hydrogen atoms from space during travel. While he spoke, Liara found herself studying his features, the warm brown of his eyes, the slight curve of his lips as he smiled. A strange emotion stirred inside her chest, and she quickly looked away, her cheeks deepening to a darker shade of blue. If Cooper noticed, he said nothing, though Liara caught him glancing her way more often afterward, his face thoughtful. Meanwhile, Dr. Chin had taken on the task of teaching Liara about human biology and culture. Each day, they spent hours covering topics from basic anatomy to detailed social customs. "So humans pair bond for life?" Liara asked, curious about the idea of marriage. "That's the intention," Dr. Chin replied with a small laugh. "Though it doesn't always last in reality. Relationships can be complex," Liara nodded slowly. "I think I'm beginning to see that," she said quietly, her thoughts shifting to her uncertain feelings for Cooper. As the days went by, Liara became more integrated with the human crew. She joined their meals, shared stories, and even tried their games, though poker rules remained a mystery to her. Then the alarms rang through the emis, bathing the corridors in flashing red light. Liara's pulse quickened as she followed Cooper to the engine room, her steps barely touching the ground as they ran. "All hands to battle stations," Captain Mann's voice ordered over the intercom. Multiple hostile ships on approach. They entered the engine room just as the first impact struck the ship. Liara stumbled into a console, but Cooper caught her, his face set. "Pirates," he muttered, fingers moving rapidly across the controls. "The same ones as before." "Liara, watch these readouts. If any hit the red, shout." She nodded, trying to focus on the unfamiliar screens as chaos unfolded. The ship shook under another barrage. Sparks fell from an overhead conduit. "Shields at 60%. Someone yelled. Cooper swore, ducking under a panel to redirect auxiliary power. "Liara, how are the readouts?" "Still green." She called back, holding the console as the deck rocked. Through the viewport, she saw sleek black ships racing past, their energy weapons flashing. A massive blast rocked the Emis. Liara was thrown to the floor, ears ringing as she scrambled upright. Flames shot from a ruptured fuel line. "Fire and engineering." Cooper shouted into his cum. He grabbed an extinguisher and tossed another to Liara. "Aim at the base," he instructed. Together, they fought the blaze as the ship trembled under enemy fire. Sweat streaked down Liara's blue skin, her lungs straining against the acrid smoke. Just when it seemed the situation might spiral beyond control, a commanding voice came through the cum. "This is Admiral Chun of the Earth Defense Fleet. Stand down and prepare to be boarded, or we will open fire." Liara sagged with relief as a massive battlecruiser emerged from warp, overshadowing both the Artemis and the pirate ship. The pirates immediately retreated, unwilling to risk a fight with Earth's military power. As the tension faded, Liara realized she was trembling. Cooper pulled her into a firm embrace, his heartbeat steady against her cheek. "It's okay," he murmured. "We're safe now. You handled it well." Liara held onto him, finally admitting to herself that her feelings for the human engineer were stronger than she had ever allowed. The rest of the voyage passed without major issues. As they entered Earth's solar system, excitement spread among the crew. Liara spent long hours at the observation ports, captivated as they passed the massive planets of the outer system. After weeks of travel, a blue and green world appeared in the distant Earth. Liara's breath caught as the view grew sharper. White clouds swirled over vast oceans and wide continents in shades of green and brown. Scattered across the surface, the lights of countless cities shimmered. "It's beautiful," Liara whispered. "Wait until you see it up close," Cooper replied, stepping beside her. He took her hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. "Welcome to your new home." As the Artemis began its descent through the atmosphere, Liara's mind raced with questions. What would this world be like? How would she adapt among so many humans? The ship touched down softly. When the airlock opened, Liara drew a steady breath, lifted her shoulders, and stepped out to face her new life on Earth. Whatever challenges awaited, she knew she would not face them alone.